Welcome to Mark My Words, a show that searches for the fork in the road in life, the place where the turning point in the journey of entrepreneurship and life can be found. Let's meet each other at the crossroads on Mark My Words. My guest, Arlene Cohen Miller, who is joining me today on Mark My Words, has so many areas that she specializes in and so many just topics that she's passionate about that she implements into her business. I frankly don't even know where I can begin as far as introducing her because frankly, it would take me like an hour just to introduce her before we could get started. But I'm going to just rattle off a couple of things here. Arlene is the CEO of Jewel Consultancy, which she has been the CEO of since 2013. Her passion is to help you create the life that you desire personally and professionally. She offers coaching, soul readings, which I love, especially based on her YouTube channel and some of the content there, mentoring, discovery session, and I mean, frankly, without taking this too long or too far, some areas that she loves to talk about, according to her rundown on Podmatch: gratitude, breath work, and relaxation techniques, getting off the hamster wheel and gracefully moving forward in life, celebrating our victories, which I love. I think there was a video about that. Releasing what's keeping us stuck and experiencing more love, how to maintain clear, strong, and appropriate boundaries. That's just some of them. I'm just going to leave it at that. Arlene, welcome to Mark My Words. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for that introduction.
You're welcome. It takes a lot of meditation to get introduction like that down because you can easily psych yourself out. And I'm not really writing it down. I'm just bouncing from browser page to browser page to get it right. And I'm totally just improvising, even though I probably shouldn't, but I have not botched it too much. Anyway, enough about me patting myself on the back. Let's talk all about you because there is so much to talk about, such a great story. And your entrepreneurial story started quite a few years back, but I do know that your college career, I could have spent the whole episode just talking about you and your accolades with college. My goodness, you studied political science. You have been a lawyer, so you studied law quite a bit. What made you interested in studying political science? I know we don't want to turn this political, but just talk a little bit about maybe what might have gotten you interested.
I don't think it was a very good, I don't think it's a very important, great story. It's like I knew I wanted to go to law school when I was 15. I tried some other majors and I'm like, oh, don't like that, don't like that, don't like that. Oh, political science is not so bad. That'll get me into law school. And it was interesting. It wasn't like I was really totally passionate about political science, but I really did enjoy the classes. And I took a wide variety of, undergraduate classes besides that. So there's no real big story around there except I didn't like I don't know, accounting stuff. I didn't like anything to do with math. So I really couldn't, and I didn't want anything to do with like the medical science stuff. That wasn't anything I was going to excel in. So I just happened into it. I was interested, but there's no really great story there. Like, oh, wow, I fell in love with political science. But yeah, it's a good topic.
It is, and actually, your story sounds a little bit similar to mine because I got my degree in TV production. They called it electronic media at that time, but I needed a minor or what they called in my school a concomitant. And I'm not sure why they called it that, but it was basically a minor. I originally started with journalism, got a little intimidated because my teacher was trying to be like a managing editor and was very hard hitting about uh, our projects. And I'm like, well, I know I'm a good writer and I know this is good. Why is he being so hard? So I actually dropped that and wound up in public administration, which was very political science heavy. And and I kind of had the same kind of thought process as you did. And it actually wound up being something that I enjoyed quite a bit and fit my personality. And I use it in my day to day career, but it did come in handy a little bit, but I didn't take it any further. Certainly didn't take it as far as you did, which is becoming a lawyer, starting your own practice. Talk a little bit about getting out of college and the fact that you wound up becoming an entrepreneur at such a young age and just how that all came about.
Well, I got married in my second year of law school, and my then husband, we're not married anymore. He was in medical school while I was in law school. He got his residency up in Cleveland, Ohio, and so he went ahead of me, started his residency, which was like working 70 or 80 hours a week. And I came up to Ohio. I had to take another bar exam because there wasn't any reciprocity because just taken one. You have to be like 5 years. So I had to study for another bar, and I could only be a law clerk for a while till I passed the Ohio bar. And then I worked for some other attorneys for a little bit, like some, guys that were sharing office space. And I was not like a really huge bright shining star in law school. I was kind of middle of the class. I wasn't like law review or anything. I liked it. It was really interesting. I felt I could help people, but I'm not wasn't like I loved the studying bit of it for some reason, and I probably would have been better to take a year off and go to travel around on a train and stay in hostels for a year before I went to between college and law school because it was pretty intense, what I was doing. So I got up there, I worked for a couple of attorneys. I really couldn't find a place that was paying me decent wages. There's still my law school class is about a third women. It's, different now. So I just decided, I mean, had no clue what I was doing. I don't want to look like I'm some person that was like brilliant. And I was just like, well, I got a roof over my head with my ex. I know, he wasn't making much money, but we had a place to live. We had food. I'm just going to go out into business for myself. Had no idea what I was doing. And I found a place. It was like I was running one room. I found a legal secretary. There wasn't even computers back then to do all this. And she was working for a bunch of other attorneys. She became my legal secretary. There was two other attorneys in the building, an employment agency. Another guy came in with another business, and I hung up my shingle, and I found out I was pregnant. So I took on, starting my own business, going through the 9 months, and then being a mother my first year of having my own law firm, and trying to figure out how to balance it all out with all of our family in Kentucky, all of my law school friends that could be connections in Kentucky. And it was a really good experience overall, but it was kind of stressful in the beginning.
What do you think could have been different in hindsight in order to relieve some of the pressure and stress that you experienced back then starting a business?
Well, there weren't any work-life balance and harmony coaches back then at all. I never even knew that there was like I could talk to a coach. I did find like a counselor that I could talk to, but that really wasn't very helpful. I was pretty healthy, mentally and all that kind of stuff. And I just needed some help of how do I find a tribe? How do I organize my life? And I just did it step by step at a time. I found a really cool grandma that was taking care of kids in her home that I felt really comfortable for my son to be with there when I was working. I found a workout club that I could go to, and there was a bunch of mothers, and I was a runner back then, and we would stick our kids in daycare and they'd play with each other and we'd go for a run. So I just slowly over time, developed a tribe of people that were my friends They were going through similar situations or circumstances that I was, or they could serve me and I could serve them because and the lady that I hired, needed the money and to take care of her house. And she was wonderful. And my son, loved her and the family and the other kids that were there. So it was just like one step at a time. There wasn't any like magic fairy dust there that said, we're going to make it all better for you. I think it's like what anyone does. You're in a situation, you got to find some answers, and you just take a step and you see how it goes and you take another step.
When did you get to the point? Like, obviously, this kind of build up and the seeds, I think, from what I'm hearing, were getting planted over the course of time. But when did you kind of wake up and realize, wait a minute, all these things that I've learned about running a business through all these different eras, and we're now in an era that's a lot more open, it's completely different. And this is a situation where I could maybe actually take what I've learned about mental health and balance and all of that and help others. Is there a story around that?
Well, about 6 years before, I mean, when my son was 9, I sold my business in Cleveland, Ohio, and I really felt like I had like a little guardian angel there because there was a guy who helped connect. I'd stopped doing divorces. It was too stressful for me and started doing commercial law. And there was a whole group of attorneys and business meetings I could go to. And there was a guy that lived in my town who helped connect the attorneys and the collection agencies and the companies that wanted to work with the attorneys. We helped businesses collect their debts. And he was like, my cheerleader. I told him I wanted to sell my business and move and buy into a business in Colorado. And he found me someone to buy my business like in 2 weeks. And I was like, oh my God, how did that happen? And occasionally, and I guess in our lives, we do have like a little guardian angel that helps us to move forward with something that seems right. So I sold my business, moved with my son to Cleveland. It was a really good move for both of us. He had bad asthma, and Cleveland was not a good place for it. Colorado was great with that very dry air. And I loved, being a partner in a firm and having more employees and, being able to delegate. That was like wow, that's really cool. I like that. And then I guess, I mean, I was an attorney for a long time and I just was getting a little burnt out. If you're in the practice of law, maybe it's the same thing with IT and other professions. There's never, ever an end to it. You go on holiday, it's there. You go on business, it's there. You have to work hard before you go when you come back. And about 6 or 7 years before we sold the business, I got a diploma in transformational holistic counseling and a diploma in coaching and mentoring and certification in meditation facilitation. I didn't think I was going to leave the practice of law. I just, I knew that I needed those skills to be a better attorney because you learn how to listen, you learn how to sort of like hold space for people, like a nice big judgment-free space, and you learn how to be really fully present with people. And that is a life skill that I didn't realize how lousy would that with that. And so all that happened. And then over time, it's just like, I could get out of the practice of law. It's not that I didn't enjoy it. I just was tired. I was kind of burnt out. I needed something different. And I was actually using it in my practice, but I was ready just to go out on my own and not have all the stress of being an attorney.
Burnout is a topic that I hear about a lot on this show, and it's actually a topic I've been thinking a lot about. How can I expand on that topic, and how can I expand on the conversation? And I know that there are a few guests that I've had on this show who have expressed interest in speaking about it more. And it's a topic that I think definitely needs more people like you who are really cognizant of it. They've lived through it. They've taken steps to navigate through it in their own way. And it's very important to have those conversations and to hear from people who have like genuinely burned out. And I think it's great that not only are you here talking about it, but you're actually taking those experiences and trying to help others. So that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, and it's not that, it's really that work-life balance and harmony stuff. It's really a part of that because there's things we can do to take care of ourselves now that will make a difference. If we feel different on the inside, even if we have the same exact number of challenges and everything, we're going to have a different experience on the outside. I mean, we can change our boundaries. We don't have to say yes to everything. It's really kind of healthy to learn to say no, which I do it really well now. I have to say I'm really proud of myself. I don't give explanations anymore, especially like to people members of my family that I love dearly that I used to, really go out and do everything to make them, happy. And it's not that I don't love them, I care about them, but sometimes I'll just say, no, I'm not going to do that, or no, I'm not going to give you that, you know. And I don't feel bad about it anymore. I don't feel guilty at all. It's I don't the details aren't don't matter, but we need to know how to say no from our hearts. We're not judging them. Our plate's full, or we don't want to do something, it doesn't resonate with us. And when we learn that skill, those boundaries, it is a lot easier because there's nothing for people to bounce off of. If you're saying no, but you're not angry, you're not judging, you're just saying, my plate is full, or, I don't really feel to do that. What are they going to say? There's nothing to do with it, and it becomes, they actually, I feel like it engenders more respect after a while. It's like, wow, you're kind of your own person and we do stuff together or we do this or do that, but now it's no and really has nothing to do with me. So people get used to you being a different way.
And I'm glad that you just said all that, especially people getting used to you being a different way, because it's hard. You train people how to treat you, whether you know you're doing it or not. We all train each other on how we want to be treated, and saying no is a very hard skill to learn. And I think you either have to already have that skill or you learn it over time, I feel. And I think for me, I used to be very afraid of saying no. It was always yes, yes, yes. But much like maybe where you're coming from, you just hit a point of like, wait a minute, I have to take care of myself a little bit. And there needs to be a boundary. And I think that's what I learned eventually. I think just speaking for myself as I've gotten a little older and have gotten to know myself more and more and more, I'm like, well, I know my limitations, I know my boundaries. And I think there has come a point where I'm in a position where I can draw that line in the sand and hopefully people respect it. And if they don't, then I almost have to accept that as well. Maybe that's not somebody who belongs in my world or somebody I should collaborate with, whatever the case is. But saying no is a very important skill to learn as far as self-care, in my opinion.
Yeah, and if I could just add one more thing, because if we've been with certain friends or even a more romantic partner or our kids or whatever it is in business, and we have always been the person that ticked these certain make me happy boxes of theirs, and we're the one that's changing, it's really important to be compassionate and empathetic with them because they're not changing, we are. And so we can just, over time, they're going to see that we're more filled up with kindness and love, and we're a lot nicer to them because we're being a lot nicer to them ourselves. But it's totally understandable why they might put up a little bit of a fuss and have a little bit of a tantrum on the floor. We can do our best to just say, this is what I need to do to take care of myself. I can't be everything to everybody anymore. It's not that I don't care about you, but these are my boundaries, and I understand that you might not like that because I've always done it a different way. And after a while, people get used to it. If they don't, then they were just there. so that you could tick those make me happy boxes and they really don't particularly care about you. But I really think in the beginning, if we are compassionate with them because we're changing and it's not them, and we had this like unspoken contract to how we were both going to act, and now we're changing that. If we approach it from that, then it's a lot more understandable, and we're going to have a lot more compassion and empathy for them if we see them acting like a toddler and throwing a little tantrum on the floor because we're not doing what we always did.
I, that first of all is great advice. It must be great because I'm a little bit speechless, but I know that when I sense somebody is changing in that regard, or even when I catch myself and notice I'm being different, it's really a moment for me at least. It's like, whoa, something's different here. Dynamic has changed. And I feel like it's good to acknowledge those moments and to try to be cognizant of it and think it over a little bit. Because I think it's not only important to acknowledge ourselves and to evaluate that, but also good to kind of evaluate what might be going on with the other person, especially if they're very close or you work with them, you're friends with them, or even in my case, if you're married, you will see those things happen. And I totally agree with you on showing compassion. I think that's great advice.
Yeah, yeah. Took me a long time to figure that out because for a while I was like taking everything really personally and like, I was really sort of a little bit self-righteous about it. I have the right to change, without really taking the other person into account. And so I sort of had to learn from the school of hard knocks. Oh, I need to modify my behavior here too.
Well, speaking of modifying behavior, you talked a lot about burnout and work-life balance and how all those things played a role over the years. Talk a little bit about not only how you approach that now, but how you're teaching others to see what they need to do with work-life balance, gratitude, and some of these other things that you like to focus on helping people to cope with.
You just threw all the work-life balance topics at me one time. Well, bunch of them. I'll do my best to talk about a
Sorry, yeah,
couple of
just do
them.
your best. It's a
So
no
that's all right.
judgment zone.
I know I'm just teasing you. So I guess that gratitude is just really a great thing to play with for everybody, no matter where you are in your life. And so I think the mistake that a lot of people make is they're waiting for something to be grateful for instead of taking a step back and looking at everything they've already manifested in their life. We have a comfortable bed to sleep in. We have a hot shower to take in the morning. We have toothpaste that we like to use. We have food in the refrigerator that we want to eat, or in the pantry, or we can go out to get something. We have people that love and we love and love us. So we have so many things in our life already to be grateful for. And so when we step back and acknowledge that, it's like, okay, I already have a foundation of gratitude. And the thing that where people get stuck or I feel like get a little bit lost is they try to make gratitude a mental thing. They like, I'm going to write my gratitude list every night before I go to bed. Well, if it's all in your head, it's not going to help. You have to actually feel it. I'd rather that people feel one or two things, just a moment that they had that day that they can be grateful for. Maybe you sat down with your wife and it was a delicious meal and you're like, oh my gosh, I've had this hard day and this is the best food. I'm just happy sitting here with you. Or it could be like, yeah, you're in the grocery store and you're buying some items, and the checkout person, you've seen them a bunch of times. You just have a nice 30-second conversation. Or someone lets you in traffic when there's a bazillion cars and you don't know how the heck you're going to get in, and you're supposed to be somewhere at a certain time, and this person just stops and lets you in. It's like, whoa, what? Oh, where did that come from? Thank you. So if we have those experiences of all those little things that we can be grateful for every day, and we actually take a moment to be grateful, we begin to really, really change because gratitude is like this really high vibration. It just uplifts us. And when we're feeling grateful, it expands us out so that we have a lot more space heart space and everything to handle everything. If we're all contracted and afraid and overwhelmed, we're like really, really small, and there's no room to let things move through us that are our feelings. So gratitude is just amazing. And when we give it a little bit, we don't even have to have it be something else. We're driving our car, and we're just feeling it as something I'm grateful for. It doesn't have to be a big production.
I totally agree with you. And I feel like gratitude, showing myself love, has been a lifelong process. I feel like I've gotten a lot better with it as time has gone on. And I think it's so easy to just be churning through life. And you know, if you really stop and truly think about it on a big scale, that you know that you're lucky and you have a good life and things are going well. But I totally agree that there are things that happen on a much smaller scale that wind up being a big deal to your mood and your day and your well-being. As you went through those points, I could think of something for each point where I could remember a moment where I was grateful. Yesterday, I was working really hard on my show, working really hard on just my day job, and my wife didn't know she was doing it. Made me an awesome lunch of eggs, and I love eggs. She made me egg sandwiches, even though she was feeling sick, and I was so grateful for that because I didn't eat anything the entire day. It was a big boost to my whole day. I can think of many times being at Tropicana Field back when they actually had a roof over Tropicana Field and could play baseball there. Currently, they cannot, but so many times where somebody left me in to get out of the traffic or whatever, and it changes your whole mood in a moment where you're really grinding through even a situation like that where you know you're going to get out of there eventually. There's so many people with the same goal. But when somebody lets you in, makes it a little easier, it has a big effect. And I try to remember those things. And if you have ever let me pass a Tropicana Field, I thank you. So
Yeah, we just don't pay attention when we really acknowledge those little moments and go, "Wow, that was a really cool moment. Thank you." It opens our heart. It lays the foundation for more gratitude. It works with the law of attraction, which is what you focus on is what you're going to get more in our life. But oftentimes, when we're doing the reverse of the law of attraction, we're focusing on everything we're stressed about, all we have to do, what someone said to us that pissed us off, all those little things that are dragging us down how is it causing us to contract and make small? And that's not working like with the law of attraction or with gratitude. It doesn't mean I'm not saying don't feel your feelings. If we're upset, if we're angry, it's important to feel it, acknowledge it, let it go, maybe fill ourselves up with more light and love, because otherwise it's going to get stuck in our body and cause disease or something. But what I'm saying is that, we really need to choose to be aware of what we're actually paying attention to, what we're actually thinking about, how we are actually feeling. And once we have that awareness, we can begin to change things positively for ourselves.
so how do you feel gratitude and work-life balance are related?
They're completely related because, like, as you were talking, yesterday you were working your day job, you were working your podcast. It was nose to the grindstone. Your wife made you a favorite food you like, and it made your day. But if we're cognizant, what we can do in those moments when we have so much that we need to get done is like every time we finish something, wow, nice job with, there was like this one thing I really didn't want to do. I got it done. Great. I'm going to do maybe a little happy dance, or maybe I'll do something later or this week to celebrate that. Maybe I'll take a 5 or 10 minute break. But what we do is that we can just acknowledge ourselves as we're going through those moments and give ourselves credit where credit is due. Lots of times, if you're really good at podcasts, I don't know the first thing about I mean, I can be on a show, but it's different running a show and doing all that stuff. And what might be easy to you would be like, I'd be like little deer in the headlights. And, something that I might be good at, you'd be like, how do you do that? So different things stress us out. And when we can really acknowledge, take that first step of acknowledging all those things we're doing and even take a moment to celebrate. And if our body is saying, look, Arlene, you've gotten these three big things done. Yes, you have 10 more things you could get done today. I need a break. The human's going, a break. Take a break. Because what I used to do is go, I can get one more thing done. I can get one more thing done. And then I'd be like on the floor because I didn't listen to my body. I didn't listen to my mind that we had done a lot and we needed to go take a walk outside or go sit on a bench. My law firm used to have a library across the street with a nice bench on it. You could go, take a cup of tea and a sandwich and go sit there and you'd just be like, oh, this is so nice. So I know I sort of rambled, but I hope I touched something there that was helpful to your people.
You touched on something that I don't know if it's helpful or not, but I almost feel like it's worth saying. I'm horrible at taking breaks. And it's something that I've been working very hard on to do better because I know just in my day to day job, the job itself, which I can tell you about once we're done, but it's all about getting stuff done and productivity and things are always coming in that need to get done. And it's hard to pull yourself away. And I really have had to teach myself and learn, okay, I've been sitting down for like 45 minutes or an hour. Get up and stretch. Even if I'm not like stressed out or anything, which I'm at least in that world, I'm usually not too stressed out, but it can be a grind sitting there 2, 3, 4 hours. Don't do that. Get up and stretch and breathe and go outside. I live in Florida, for goodness sake, go out and enjoy the nice weather. And it's important. I've really been trying to take care of myself more in that regard. And just from that experience of changing my attitude a little bit, I feel like it's made a big difference.
Yeah, because when we give that to ourselves, even if it's 5, 10, or 15 minutes, that opportunity just to breathe and be away from the electromagnetic radiation of our computers and just sitting there staring at the screen, it gives us a whole new reset button on life, and we can come back and be much more productive. Then, I've talked to some IT guys, and they're not they feel like they can't leave their desk, and then they talk to me about moments where they're just staring at their screen and not getting anything done. So. Yeah, we need to have a way just to, you know, turn off all that stuff for a moment, kind of redo a reset button, whatever works for us. And then when we come back, we're going to be clearer and brighter and be able to do more and be more calm and, together about it. So it's not rocket science. I'm sure if I looked up, there'd be statistics. If I went to Chat GPT and said, what are the statistics on this? There'd be a lot of support. So it's something that we know, and lots of times that's why I say this stuff because we don't do what we know would be really helpful for us, and it's not that hard to do, and it really doesn't impact on our productivity at all. It really helps to boost it.
Well, it may not be rocket science, but I think it's important to have somebody like you who, to your point earlier, is the professional who's really in tune and knows how to communicate all of this and knows how to get people thinking about themselves to really make that impact because well, to your point, this is a lot of stuff that I understand, and that's why one of the reasons I wanted you to be on this show is that I love all these topics and things you specialize in. And sure, I could hit record and talk about the same kind of things, but I bet it would not be near as effective, which is why I like being the host and the example in some way rather than being the expert. Because, for example, one of the things you offer, which was really fascinating to me, in addition to coaching, mentoring, is soul readings. And I know there was at least one video about it, and I was really fascinated by it. And the first thing I think when I try to apply your logic is, well, I would love to be the recipient of a soul reading, but I would never give one. That's not something that I have the personality or skill to do.
Yeah, well, I guess that's, it's important to acknowledge we all have different gifts and different areas of expertise. And, even in the law, attorneys specialize. And most people specialize in something because we can't know everything. And that's where it's nice to come together with people who have different areas of expertise and we can help them and they can help us. But so if you want to know about soul readings, it's just a form of mentoring. I use the psychic tarot oracle cards and what I've learned to do with the coaching and the mentoring and like the counseling diploma that I got and the meditation is just how to heart connect with people. So I can be with someone I'm pretty empathetic and intuitive and sensitive. Not that I'm the best in the world, but I just some gifts that I naturally have. And so I can connect with someone, pull out the deck, go with my fingers. They can pick out the cards. We'll pick out the cards, and I can just give them a reading that says what the opportunities are available, some challenges and stuff they might meet, how to move around them. It's like it's not a personality to personality experience. It's like a soul to soul, heart to heart experience. So I'm not going to say you're going to get a man or you're going to make $1 million by winning the lottery. I don't have a clue, and they're not going to tell me that stuff. But if has a question about something in their life and they throw it in there, I find that oftentimes what sort of flows through to share with them gives them an answer or at least a few steps forward that they can take now. I don't know. I don't know how it applies, but if it does, that's great. And what I also like people to do is to record it so that they can use it for a 3 or 4 month period and refer back to it. And if it works, great. And, sometimes life changes after you have a reading and certain things don't apply anymore, and that's fine. But I find it really, really helpful for adults, especially because we learn in a bunch of different ways, visually, through what we hear, what we see, kinesthetically. There's like this business acumen kind of way we learn, um, and it sort of addresses all of them, and it makes it easier to receive something because we're doing it together. And I think it's really cool. I really, really love it.
Well, in your opinion, what does it mean to be intuitive? Because I feel like I'm pretty well in touch with my intuition, but that might mean something different to you. I'd love to hear what you have to say on that.
Well, I think that, everyone is intuitive. Maybe some people are more naturally. I give a really interesting way to play with it. And that is like you have a grocery list. You're going to go to the grocery store and you said you're going to get carrots. And you go to look at the carrots, you go, I don't really, no, my body, I don't want that. I want bananas. So listen to your intuition and get what your body is telling you. So to me, listening to my intuition is not listening to all the blah, 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 blah in my mind, especially because most of the blah, blah, blah is not going to be a lot of it's not positive a lot of the times. It's like, you're stupid, you're idiot, you can't do that, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, stop it. Talk to the hand, man. I don't care. We're not doing that. It's more when you just have this feeling like you're doing some sort of project and it's like, oh my God, I need to do this and this feels really right. And we don't let our mind talk us out of it. And we I always say that it's like a little seed popping out of the ground and you want to nurture it and love it. And I don't share hardly anything with anybody like until it's a big tree. And if I have a project or something that comes up and goes, oh wow, I'm supposed to do this, because it might be a long road. But what happens is that maybe we have an inspiration, an intuition that comes to us. It's up to us to integrate it and actualize it. And it's up to us to say no to fear, doubt, and disbelief that's going to come up of all the reasons why not until we get the next like intuition that's sort of big in our life. The little ones like going to the grocery store, they're just a fun way to practice developing and strengthening the intuition that we already have.
I always tell people it's important to listen to like their gut and your intuition, because sometimes that can be more of an indicator of how you should approach a certain situation or, something bigger, whatever X, Y, and Z that is. And I know I try as much as I can that battle between your heart and your gut and your mind is a tough battle to fight sometimes.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying it's perfect or easy. Sometimes
No.
it's simple, but it can be very difficult to start applying it because I guess some people that I work with, like they're in a relationship that's toxic and they know they should get out of it. And they keep on attracting the same kind of, you know, toxic person in the relationship because they haven't really changed that bit within themselves. It really doesn't matter how much I say something as a mentor or any realization that they have, in a coaching situation until they've had enough and they're ready to move on. And I think that we just need to be kind, patient, and tolerant with those people and with ourselves because sometimes we take the circuitous journey in order to learn something. And sometimes we take the was it Robert Frost, the road less traveled, and we have that intuition and we stick with it. So it's a practice. It's not a perfect. And the important thing is that to not beat ourselves up, but to keep on, what can I learn from this today? And how can I apply that in the future? And what would that look like? What would that feel like?
So, kind of along the same lines, let me ask you what you would say to entrepreneurs who are trying to do things like staying relaxed when they have a lot on their plate or need to refresh their batteries. What has been or would be your advice to them on how to manage?
Well, it's going to be a little bit different for every person. I don't really feel like what I should do is say, this is what I do, and you should do that. Like I'm shaking my finger at them because I know if someone does that to me, I'm not very receptive. And that's why I love coaching because I know with coaching, I know that the person has all the answers inside of them. And so maybe we can explore what do you do to relax? What helps you to wind down, especially that's away from the computer and away from the cell phones, and implement some of that. I mean, I do recommend certain breathing techniques because physiologically, they take us out of fight or flight mode into rest and relax mode. And I do get a lot of backflack from people that are more into the kind of technology world because it's not, it looks like it's woo woo or whatever. And I was really resistant to a lot of this stuff for years as an attorney. And I think I just had to have like that one last headache that was the doozy. That I'm like, oh my God, I really have to start listening and applying some of these really simple, easy tools to take away all this physiological stuff that's going on in my body because I'm stressed. And so I do like to teach people or to introduce them and see if they want to play with some really, really simple breathing techniques that take you because you don't have to do them you can do them while you're driving your car. You can do them while you're listening to someone that will not shut up that you're talking to on the phone or the computer. They don't even have to know you're doing it because we have to breathe anyway. So I guess to me, that's sort of a baseline in addition to the gratitude and how we're thinking and how we're talking to ourselves is to really have some really simple tools that we can do while we're going about our day-to-day life. So it's not another thing on our plate.
I know personally, I'm not always the kind of person who's gonna come out or at people and externalize a lot of like my stressors or what's stressing me out. I tend to internalize a lot, and especially since I spend a lot of time working alone, whether it is the podcast day-to-day job, but things will pop up. Maybe things will be going on in life, or you'll pick up your phone and you'll see X, Y, and Z is going on in the world, and it might stir up some kind of emotion in you one way or the other. And you almost have to be self aware and catch yourself. And when I say you, I'm speaking about me, but I will personally catch myself and just try to bring myself down by turning it off, flipping the phone the other way, and just try to bring myself back around to think about what I got to focus on. It's easier said than done, but that's one thing that I've tried to do in recent years to not get myself too distracted. It's so easy to do. So many distractions in this world
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, and you have a partner if there's things that you enjoy doing together, that are not anything like that you can do with a group of other people even. Well, like I call it like-minded souls coming together and doing things you enjoy. That's really a wonderful way to let go of stress. I know when my parents were growing up, my father and mother were really good at bridge. I don't think I didn't take that on, but they loved it. They go to these bridge tournaments, they talk to other people, they do something they enjoyed. It was really relaxing for them. They didn't put stress on themselves to win. But whatever it is, if we can do something with going to a baseball game with a couple of friends, it's it's a chill out thing. It's better if your team is winning, maybe, but it's a chill out thing. You can just let go. And so when we have those kind of activities that lift us up, and we're not doing it by ourselves, but we're with a group of people with a similar interest, I find that that's a really lovely thing to incorporate into our lives that is very, very helpful.
I absolutely agree with that because I just joined a Top Golf league. I don't know if you're familiar with Top Golf, but it's basically a place where you can go and you use regular golf clubs and you hit the ball at these different targets. There's all different games that you can play, and you can do that in a group setting just for fun, where you can join a league like I have, because apparently according to my wife, I'm actually pretty decent at it. So I took her advice and trying not to be too egotistic on that, but she kind of pushed me into it. It's a great refresh. I notice every Monday night when I come home, I'm a little more refreshed and recharged. And just some of the other things that I've done in a group setting, going out, there's a lot to do here in Florida. It's a great way to reset. And I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah, and it's easier when we're not doing everything by ourselves because I don't know, when I was growing up, my mother said, just be home by dinner time. And so I go out with my girlfriend, and I grew up in Kentucky, and there they had like streams that went all the way down to the Ohio River. The place wasn't all built up with suburbs yet, and I'd take my dog, and we'd make sure that we were home by dinner time, and that was it. And you were outside all day, and or in with a group of friends, and um yeah, so you have to really plan and join different groups. I know my son joined his soccer league. I don't think they practice very much or very good, but they have a great time together. And and it's just like a refresh button because he's in front of his computer a lot too for his business. And it's like good on you for knowing how to take care of yourself.
Well, speaking of having a great time, I've had a really great time talking to you, Arlene, but I feel like our time is running out. So I'm going to give you the mic in order to tell everybody how they can find you, how they can work with you, and anything else that you want to add.
Right. Well, thank you. So my business is Jewel Consultancy, like the diamond. A JEWEL consultancy.com. You can find me there. I have 3 videos and a blog, a big blog that you can look at. Um, if you Google Arlene Cohen Miller, Cohen is my middle name. Um, there's no Arlene Cohen Millers that I've ever found. There's a lot of Arlene Millers. You'll find me on all the different social media sites. I do have an offer for anyone that has me on your podcast. Just refer to Mark's podcast. Text me at 720-936-2634. Maybe you can put that in the notes. And I will do a mini soul reading for you, maybe like 3 or 4 cards, as my thanks for being on the show.
That sounds like a good deal to me. I appreciate you being here today, Arlene. And this was everything I thought it was going to be. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with me and everybody else. And Again, this was Arlene Cohen Miller. She is CEO of Jewel Consultancy. She has a ton of wisdom. Go look her up. Go find her. Go work with her. She's amazing. And I appreciate you being here on Mark My Words. And that's it for this episode. I will see you soon. Bye for now. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to go on a journey with me into entrepreneurship and life on Mark My Words. If you would like to learn more about me and the show, you can find me on LinkedIn at Mark Schmidt or connect with me on Instagram at Nimrod79. Video episodes of Mark My Words, as well as other content, can also be found on the Mark My Words YouTube page. Entrepreneurship can be quite the roller coaster ride. It can be a bit isolating and intimidating, but it doesn't have to be that way. Let's meet here next time at the crossroads on another episode of Mark My Words.